This is that once in a lifetime.
It's kind of sad. I'm gonna miss them, but it's okay. I think they have grown a lot. I can see the growth. We went through grades, and you could actually see from the beginning exit tickets where they didn't even provide any evidence to the very end when they're boom, killing it. Let me cite some sources in there. So I think that's really cool to see that growth in such a short amount of time. And obviously I'm just there for them. That's their hard work as well, and I'm just kind of helping along that growth. So yep.
Leaving was actually pretty hard. I tend to get close with people pretty easily, and I knew that I was going to get close with the kids like that, just knowing myself. And I think that it was tough. I mean, me and my other co-teachers developed relationships with the kids, and you see them grow, and I think in a way they see you grow too. And they're smart, they know that you're there learning with them. And I made that clear to my kids in the beginning too. Big concepts, I think that I knew this going in, but it was really, it hit home when I left. You have to develop relationships with your kids before you actually start teaching them. You have to devote time to getting to know them, because they will not respect you if you don't put forth the effort to get to know who you're teaching. And that is on you. It's not on them, it's on you to try to develop relationships with them. And I like to think that kids are going to learn best when they're put in an environment where they feel comfortable, and where they feel close with the people around them. So it's not only you one-on-one developing a relationship with the kids, it's you're facilitating them all getting to know each other. It's you're facilitating their development as people interacting with other people. That's what I'm trying to say. They're becoming friends. You're going to see relationships arising, and you have to make sure that you encourage that. You want to build a community in your class. I've said that probably a million times with you, so and that's so important. And I did feel a community in our class, and I think my co-teachers would agree with me. Leaving was tough, and it was tough for a good reason. They were writing notes we don't want you to leave. Can you teach here? Are you going to be in Houston? That kind of thing. And it's really bittersweet,
No, yeah, I guess at my school site, it's been one of those things getting to know my kids. I feel in the short amount of time I've had, I've made really good relationships with my kids. I have 22 now, started out with in the 30s, 22 students now, and I honestly know what they're interested in, what their future goals are, what most of their home lives are and it's something that I worked really hard to get my kids to talk to me in this way, and I think a lot of it has to do with I talk to them that way. So I don't know, just definitely learning the balance between student and teacher, but at the same time we're all people. And so I think I'm really fortunate that I had a classroom that was as accepting of me as I am of them, and we were able to form those relationships. Also at Sam Houston, the staff have worked with us a lot. They've given me permission to do some awesome, crazy experiments, and I don't know if I'll always be at a place that's so willing to, let me go around the school and sample bacterium or implode oil drums, but
I think that's what I took away from this last day, was that group conversation. Even though a third of the room wasn't there, and of the students that were there, a quarter of them were asleep. Because as much as I talked at them and looked at them, even as I was responding to questions from other students, what can I do? Even from that day, I learned so much about them, and I realized saying goodbye to them, a couple of them left, they read their notes and then left them. But then there were a couple more who I could tell they put it in their pocket, and they kept it. I learned so much from them working at Sam Houston. I think that after Institute, what I have gotten out of the whole thing is, I think nothing's really black and white. Parts of me feel totally hopeless. Parts of me feel like a terrible teacher. Parts of me feel like I don't belong here. And then also, of course, that I can't, that I don't deserve respect in the classroom, that I'm never going to get respect in the classroom. That my classes are always going to be this hard to manage, that they're always going to be this hard to involve. But then the other part of me is so hopeful because I know that as little as I managed to help them grow academically, some of them still enjoyed the class, and some of them still thought I was an okay teacher. What I've taken from Institute most of all is that I need to make very, very organized and consistent efforts to be joyful for me. Because otherwise, why am I here? I came in so excited, and I think I still am excited, but now I'm just so overwhelmed by feeling poorly equipped to really manage a classroom. From all the classes they've given us, all the hours we've had, what do I really know? I know that some people had more luck in their classrooms than I did, either because their students were quiet, or because they had very few students, or because they were just naturals, and maybe I'm not. But I also think that that's a lie. It's a stock story about, I guess being a TFA core member. Nobody's a natural. Everybody comes away from a day feeling both elated and totally despairing, feeling like they screwed up. So I just want to be happy again, and I want to trust myself. Because I think at the end of this institution, I don't really trust myself. But I have to think back to when they hired me and think about why I applied and think about why I think that I actually am a good teacher and look forward to every day like it's a new day. And I think that that's the third thing that I did learn from Institute, is that every day you get to try again. Every day you get to change something. It's new. Treat the kids like they're new to you and you to them.
I think that some big takeaways are just like, I don't necessarily think that teaching, you can never have a perfect day in teaching. And you really shouldn't beat yourself up if you don't have a perfect day. I think you have good days that you can always improve on, right? I think, people can be in the game of teaching for 10, 12 years and they can still get better. I think it's something that's very personal and emotional, and it can be taxing. I think it's important to take care of yourself, but also realize that the work that you do is very valuable. And I think my mindset has changed, and the things I've taken away is that every little thing I do actually matters, sometimes I'm just it's okay if I didn't check in on that kid, and it really does matter. And I just think I'll keep pushing myself to learn about DI, about better ways to get my kids to participate, not just this lecturing person in the front of the classroom, and making sure that my directions are clear and short and concise. Just little things like that really do help students. And also just to keep in mind that every student learns differently. And so I think those are just a big takeaway. And teaching, you're not alone, and it's not, a sprint, it's a marathon. But also I think the big takeaway is just really just giving grace and forgiving yourself. I'm not perfect, but also other people are not perfect. And it's just kind of everyone's on their journey of teaching differently, everyone's on their DI journey differently. And I think it's important that we support each other in that, and we support our students, right? So it's kind of pushing yourself, but also operate with the idea that most people operate with good intentions, right? And I think that's important as well.
It's really easy to be here in this space and learn these things, and it's easy to know them, but it's not easy to implement them. So I have very high expectations, and I demand a lot from my fellow core members as far as their commitment to their students and how they bring this information into the classroom. And I know I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm going to try really hard, and I just challenge my fellow core members to do that as well. The children are definitely where it's centered, and sometimes we lose sight of that, myself included. And just remember that on those hard days, that's who it's for.